Morning, everybody. Welcome back. UFC 252. Mike's MMA Picks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown show, brought to you by BetDSI as well as MMA Oddsbreaker. We have 11 fights to break down. We'll burn through them pretty quickly. 6 of these fights are expected to end inside the distance. We'll start with the first fight of the night. We've got Kai Kamaka taking on Tony Kelley. Tony Kelley comes in at 7,300 in DraftKings plus 185 underdog. And then we have Kai Kamaka, 8,900, minus 225 favorite. Kai Kamaka at one point got down to minus 170. He's been bet up. Kamaka, 25 years of age, Hawaiian fighter, state wrestling champion. Likes to mix in his boxing with his wrestling. Has quick hands, typically goes the distance. Tony Kelley, Muay Thai fighter, coming in with a 2-inch reach advantage here. Haven't seen much of him. 3-year layoff before he came back to beat a marginal fighter on the regional scene. Kelley has a win over Kevin Aguilar and spent some time in Thailand a few years ago. You could see his wide stance, relies on his striking, does have some shoddy takedown defense. So in the apex here, I'm going to be looking to see Kai Kamaka landing some takedowns. Kai Kamaka, we must mention that he fought a couple of weeks ago on LFA card, and he was popped on the button a number of times, but I'll be honest, you watch fighters, promotional fighters, the fighters who come in as curtain jerkers, first fight of the night. Kai Kamaka, I must say, he looks the part here. Seems polished, fights mature, shows some fight IQ. You know he can win 3-round fights. A concern of mine, he has had both of his shoulders reconstructed, and at only 25 years of age, that's concerning. I can speak from personal experience, having multiple shoulder reconstructions, writing checks my body couldn't cash, and Kamaka, it's always a concern with the shoulder issues here. I'm going to be picking Kamaka to win, and I'm excited to see how he performs in this spot. Next up, we have heavyweights who honestly shouldn't be on this card at the UFC level. We've got Chris Daukaus taking on Parker Porter. Parker Porter, 8,500, minus 125 favorite, 35 years of age. Chris Daukaus, brother of Kyle Daukaus, very different fighters though. Daukaus coming in at 7,700, minus 105 at the betting window. This Daukaus, 30 years of age. You'll notice when you watch the fighting styles of the brothers, Kyle has many more submissions on his record. Chris has none. Chris is going to look to land hands on Porter. Porter is a sturdy vet, has been in there with Gabe Gonzaga, has been in there with John Jones and a few other fighters. When I was watching the tape on him, he fought at 205 against John Jones. Then I see him coming in against Gonzaga and other fighters, tipping the scales at 265. I come to find out he once weighed 360 pounds and struggled with his weight before getting into the UFC and before finding mixed martial arts. I wonder how these guys ended up on this card. So this fight is not expected to go to a decision at minus 285. You look at those price tags in DraftKings. This is a dangerous spot, but worth looking at. Daukaus has 7 TKO victories on his record. He comes in and seems to come out on fire and then can get caught. He doesn't have the best chin on him, though I'm going to be picking Daukaus to get the victory in this spot. I don't like what I see from Porter. Next up, we have TJ Brown taking on Danny Chavez. Danny Chavez, 10-3 record, 7,400 in DraftKings, plus 120 underdog. TJ Brown, 8,800, minus 150 favorite. This line has closed slightly. Both of these guys around similar age. TJ Brown has been in there with Griffin before. He's got excellent takedowns. He's a kill or be killed type of fighter. Just take that. Do what you will with that, because when you take chances on fighters like this, they can put you in the money or they could end up scoring you 10, 12 points in DraftKings. Dangerous spot to pick. Chavez, though, has been fighting for a long time, and he is a sloppy fighter. Will throw caution to the wind. Watch his fights on the regional scene. Willing to take risks. Both of these fighters willing to take risks. TJ Brown doesn't have the best chin on him. Will empty his tank, and I see takedowns galore here for TJ Brown in this spot. The question is, can he hold it up for 3 rounds, and is he going to be able to get the finish? I am going to pick TJ Brown to win by submission in this spot. Fourth fight of the night. We've got Felice Herrig taking on Herrig-Jandiroba. Herrig-Jandiroba coming in at $9,000 in DraftKings, minus 305 favorite. This line is held steady. Felice Herrig, 7,200 plus 235 underdog. By the way, I must mention the previous fight, TJ Brown missed weight and didn't look that bad on the scales, but you always are concerned about that. So Felice Herrig, coming off of 2 consecutive losses and an ACL repair surgery, had a bit of a meltdown in a recent interview where she was talking about her identity as a fighter and who is she if she's not fighting, if she's on the sidelines. She's known as the Little Bulldog. She's taking on a Jandiroba who I've heard while watching fights her referred to as a female version of Damian Maia. I wouldn't go that far, but she does have an excellent submission game, excellent jiu-jitsu game, and you look at how she came onto the scene in the UFC. Prior to that, she was an Invicta champion, but when she arrived in the UFC, she had a decent showing against Carla Esparza. Carla Esparza, a former champion. She landed a number of takedowns on her, and although she gave up rounds, she was in that fight. And Herrig, known as the Little Bulldog, is probably going to come in here looking to take advantage of the striking deficiencies on the feet that Jandiroba has. But in that, she's a very aggressive fighter, and I see her looking to somehow try to get this fight to the ground, even though she shouldn't. It's just second nature for her. And in the apex, in the smaller octagon, I think this fight is going to hit the ground. I see Jandiroba taking advantage of that and using her jiu-jitsu en route to either a dominant decision victory or a submission. I could see a submission for her. This fight is expected to go the distance, though, but give me Jandiroba to win here. And I think Felice might get her pink slip. Next up, we have Herbert Burns against Daniel Pineda. Wow, this is a very intriguing matchup. You look at fights that are not expected to go to a decision, and this is lined at minus 425. Daniel Pineda has spent time at Bellator, was actually in the UFC back in 2012. You could say that he's been around the block. This guy, you watch his fights. If you have the opportunity, take a look at his fight against Emmanuel Sanchez, the Matador. I rate Manny Sanchez extremely high. Herbert Burns, 11-2 record, brother of Gilbert Burns, 8,900 in DK, minus 265 favorite. Burns missed weight, did not look good on the scales. Pineda when you watch him, he's got solid submissions. He will throw caution to the wind. Hasn't been submitted in quite some time, I believe since 2010. I watched this fight. This fight I do expect to end inside the distance. Herbert Burns has been putting in a lot of time recently. Spent some time with Jared Gordon and a number of UFC vets recovering from COVID. We must mention that. It's interesting how fighters come back from COVID and they've been rescheduling these bouts a couple of weeks afterwards. And my question is, are they completely recovered? Are they ready for this? And Herbert Burns did not look good on the scale. I'm going to be picking Herbert Burns to win a grappling heavy. It's hard to pick him to win by submission in this spot, though, because you're looking at a Pineda who has a lot of 39 fights under his belt. And you know what's wild? Pineda has never won a fight by decision. In 39 fights, has never won a fight by decision. That is wacko. So give me Herbert Burns to win this fight inside the distance. And I know people don't like Herbert's striking, but recently he's found something that works. So I'm going to be picking Herbert Burns to win here. Though Pineda, he's got nothing to lose. Clawed his way back, been there before, and he is definitely a live dog in this spot. Next up, we've got Souza-Yoder against Liv Souza. Souza coming in at 8,600 in DraftKings, minus 155. She is a very small 115-pound fighter, and you saw Brianna the Bull basically run her over in the last fight. She's taking on an Souza-Yoder who has difficulty putting 15 minutes of a solid game plan together in the octagon. I've been on Yoder in the past. She lost to Randa Marcos last time out. She's coming in with a decent price tag at 7,600. Has a 3.5-inch reach here. Is the underdog at plus 125. She's the older fighter at 32 years of age. You look at her wins. Her wins do not look good against Amanda Bobby Cooper and Kondo. 7-5 record. Souza is a legitimate jiu-jitsu practitioner, scrappy fighter. Souza, I see her just being the quicker fighter. She's going to want it a little bit more. And during the grappling exchanges, we should see Souza transition a little bit faster. And I think we're going to see Yoder wilt down the stretch. I'm going to be picking Souza to win this fight. Next up, we have vets. Jim Miller against Miller-Pichel. Pichel, 7,900. This line has flipped. Now Pichel is minus 130. Pichel, believe it or not, is actually the older fighter here. This is going to be Jim Miller's 46th professional fight. He's coming in at 8,300, plus 100 underdog. Jim Miller has won a number of his recent fights. Both of these guys have a win over Roosevelt Roberts. To me, in this fight, I think it's going to come down to who starts. Who's the better starter in this matchup? You look at the odds of this one going the distance right now, minus 120. This spot, Jim Miller, if this hits the ground, I see him looking to lock something up here. You look at Pichel, though. Pichel is no slouch on the ground himself. He put Joaquim Silva in some trouble, also survived for quite some time against Gregor Gillespie. By the way, hope we see the return of Gregor Gillespie soon. He's taken a long time between fights. I understand the knockout to Kevin Lee, but I'd like to see him back in the octagon. I'm going to be picking Jim Miller to win this fight inside the distance. Next up, we have John Dodson against Dvalishvili. Merab, the machine. Incredible motor. 11-4 record. You look at his record, Dvalishvili should be on a very significant win streak. You look at his losses to Ricky Simon, Frankie Saenz. They, in my eyes, should have been wins on his record. Dvalishvili coming in at 8,700. This is a guy who puts up massive DraftKings scores. Minus 245 favorite. This line has continued to widen. John Dodson, 35 years of age, 7,500 in DK, plus 195 at the betting window. Dodson getting up there. This fight does take place in the Apex. I watched Dodson's previous bouts, and he is one sneaky individual. I watched Tom and Jerry cartoons with my kids, and I really feel like that is what we're going to see take place inside the octagon. We're going to see Merab looking to corner and corral John Dodson, look to get him on the ground. The question is he going to be able to hold him there? Dodson seems to pop up like a spring whenever he gets taken down, and from the interviews I've listened to, you can't trust everything here, but he seems like he's devoted this entire camp to getting back to his feet and attempting to land power shots while Merab is closing the distance. The question is Dodson going to have the time to get off enough power to hurt Dvalishvili? You watch his last fight, Dvalishvili's fight against Gustavo Lopez, and although Merab was dominating that fight and showed a unbelievable gas tank, there were times when Lopez was landing on the feet, and Dvalishvili really had one mission, and that was, and he's so dominant at it, to take Lopez to the ground. But you also watch his previous fights, and it's the same game plan every fight. I have concerns about Dvalishvili's stand-up game. I do. The Ricky Simone fight was something that was a bit of a concern to me. I know Matt Serra and Ray Longo they're great game planners. Also having Aljo there is very helpful, so they're going to be in Dvalishvili's ear. They can't give Dodson any space whatsoever. So in this spot, this is a really tough call. I was on Nathaniel Wood last time out, and I saw what Dodson did, but I've watched Dodson in previous fights. He's put other fighters in trouble. Peter Yan, although the grappling exchanges went to Peter Yan, he was able to dominate some of them, but he also ate some significant strikes. So one option to look at is, although this line originally was sitting at minus 160 for the Dodson scorecards equals no action, which means that if Dodson wins inside the distance, you win. If he loses inside the distance, you lose. If it hits the scorecards, you get your money back. But I am up in the air about this one. I really think that Dodson is a very live dog in this spot. I think he does have the ability to end the fight, although we haven't seen Dvalishvili put in big trouble. I'm actually going to be picking Dodson in this spot to score an upset, but I totally understand why folks are on Dvalishvili, and I think the safer play would be the Dodson scorecards equals no action, but that line also has continued to move. So this should be one hell of a fight, and this should answer a lot of questions about Dvalishvili when he's fighting this is going to be the highest caliber opponent. Sorry to drag things out on that fight. Next up, we've got heavyweights. We've got Junior Dos Santos taking on Jair Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik, 8,400, minus 125 favorite. Both of these guys fighting out of ATT. Junior Dos Santos, 21-7 record, 7,800 in DK, minus 105 at the betting window. Junior Dos Santos, 36 years of age, coming off of back-to-back knockout losses. Although the fight against Blades was stopped against the cage, I guess he wasn't completely out there. Disturbing to see Junior Dos Santos get lit up on the feet against Curtis Blades. Perhaps he was worried about the takedown and wasn't worrying about Blades' hands in that matchup, but disturbing nonetheless. Rozenstruik coming in after a 30-second loss to Francis Ngannou, where if you slow down his loss, this is a game of inches. His counters, while Ngannou was coming at him down the tracks, literally they almost landed, and whoever connected first in that spot, I think, was going out. So Ngannou landed first, rendered Rozenstruik unconscious, and I have concerns about Rozenstruik coming back so soon. You watch the interviews, and he seems like this loss hurt him big time. You look at his kickboxing record, in insanity. I think he has 64 knockout wins. Reminds me, when you watch, I've watched other countdowns with Rozenstruik running around, and the way he moves, honestly, he reminds me of Leonard Fournette. The way he runs and the way he moves, incredible. But check out previous countdowns if you can. Watch him running. It's really something. Very athletic fighter, deceivingly athletic for a big guy. So this fight, though, let's talk business here. This fight, Dos Santos in the smaller octagon. He has wheels, very nimble, very athletic. Going to look to get in, get out. Came in very slim, looked great on social media, but fights aren't won on social media. And the way I see this playing out, Junior Dos Santos comes in, has success early, then gets caught by a devastating counter and gets finished. So give me Jair Rozenstruik to win this fight. Problem is, though, he may be down on the scorecards, similar to the way he was down on the scorecards against Alistair Overeem. But give me Rozenstruik to get the job done with the precision power. And I don't think Rozenstruik's chin is as shot as Dos Santos is. Co-main event of the evening. We've got Sean O'Malley taking on Marlon Chito Vera. Vera coming in at a appetizing price of $7,000 in DraftKings, plus 230 underdog. 27 years of age. Young for his time in the fight game, for somebody who has a 17-6-1 record. Taking on Sean O'Malley, who 12-0, 25 years of age, coming in at 9,200, your highest priced fighter in DK, minus 285 favorite. Now, Marlon Vera fighting under Jason Perillo and also over at Team Oyama. I really like what I see from Marlon Vera. Looks like he put on some additional muscle for this one. One of the qualities I enjoy and about certain fighters is that they do not give up on themselves. And Marlon Vera has not done that. He has never been finished in his professional mixed martial arts career. Problem is, with Marlon Vera, he has a tendency to come out slow in each of his fights. Except for the Kelleher fight, he ended up taking him down and getting an armbar right off the bat there. But most of the time, he comes out and really struggles, especially from a striking standpoint. So he cannot waste any time here. He's going to have to try to be sly and close distance very carefully, because one thing about Sean O'Malley, he comes out of the gates hot, and he is an excellent range striker. And people bring up the Sukunta loss. He was winning that fight, and barring the injury, he was going to win that fight. You look at his lack of competition, and the guy's had 2 years off where he seemed to be developing his game and not just sitting on the sidelines. The way he came back was very impressive. I know the lack of cage time is a real concern, but I look at this fight and I do see Marlon Vera as a dog, especially as a live dog, especially in the third round. The problem is the damage sustained during the first couple of rounds going to take its toll? You watch Marlon Vera, he's been in there with some heavy hitters. He's been in there with Douglas Silva de Andrade when he looked like he was on the sauce. Andrade. You watched the fight against Lineker. He took Lineker's best shots and kept coming forward. The challenge is O'Malley's coming in with a significant reach advantage. You watch Song Yadong was able to completely tee off on Vera, and Vera was coming back at the end of the rounds and looking strong. But the problem is he puts himself behind the 8-ball time and time again. And until that changes, I have a real problem picking Marlon Vera. You watch the fight against Nolan Hernandez. He had some major challenges in that fight as well. So I'm going to be picking O'Malley to win in this spot. I see that he's probably going to get off to a solid start early, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see Vera finish for the first time in his career. It's hard to bank on something like that happening, considering it's never happened before. But I have concerns about Vera's stand-up defense. It's really, if you watch the first rounds in many of his fights, he's getting outstruck by lesser opponents. Main event of the evening. We're here, folks. We've got Stipe Miocic against Daniel Cormier for all the marbles. These are sacred moments we're about to witness inside of the octagon. And you look at the price tag, it's almost a certainty that one of these fighters is going to be on the optimal lineup, so you're going to want a piece of this. You have $8,000 for Daniel Cormier at minus 120. This line, I was expecting this line to flip. Miocic, 8,200, minus 110. Miocic, a lot of people forget about this. He's coming in with a big time reach advantage, 7.5-inch reach advantage. And if you watch if you watch the second matchup, you see the body work that was done by Miocic. That leaves quite the impression on the viewer. And I'm sure Daniel Cormier must have been beating himself up watching tape on that. How the hell could he let that happen? But then you watch other fights that he's been in, and he just doesn't respect when people hit him in the body. If he protects that body, it's going to open it up top. So I see Miocic coming in the best shape of his life, looking to get out to an early start here. Similar to Vera's going to have to come out and engage early if he doesn't want to get behind on the scorecards once again. But Miocic, he came in at 233 pounds, and he's going to look to be the quicker, more evasive fighter, looking to use his reach. And on the other side of the fight, we've got Cormier, who's going to come in, and he's going to look to grapple. He's got to. He's got to look to get this fight on the ground and keep Miocic there and drain him. And you watch the second fight, and it's clear as day. The dominant fighter on the ground is Daniel Cormier. The problem is he going to use too much of his gas tank, holding Miocic down, working, positioning over submission, and landing shots? And this has been such a tough fight to call, and it's one of the reasons I've backed off and haven't personally tipped this fight, because personally, and you got to take emotions out of it, I see Cormier as the better overall fighter here. I do have questions about Miocic's chin. You watch the way he was put out in the first fight, and I really think this is Cormier's fight to win. The problem I have, although he did come in at 236, to me, he really lets himself go in between camps. And you watch the way he shows up at other fights. I one time picked against him in the Anthony Rumble Johnson fight, one of the Rumble Johnson fights, and I watched him look like he looked horrible. It was the fight where he pushed the towel down. People thought he pushed the towel down, Towelgate. So in that fight, he came out. He took Rumble Johnson's best shot, and Rumble Johnson was looking to wrestle in that spot. But this is a completely different matchup. We have. I could see Miocic knocking Cormier out here. I honestly can, but I could also see Cormier coming in, putting Miocic on the mat, and really putting a stamp on this fight and leaving his gloves inside the octagon for good. This is an amazing fight. This is a fight I recommend sitting back and watching. Though, if you're gonna make a play on it in DraftKings, you're gonna want to pick a side, and I will reluctantly be picking Daniel Cormier to win in this spot. Though I see Miocic. I could see sharp money being on Miocic here, but I just think that Cormier is going to surprise some folks, and this is one of those moments where he can show us how great he is. So let's see it. Let's see it, champ. Want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I want to wish you a tremendous fight day. You can follow me at betmma.tips. Also, you can get my my premium plays at MMA Oddsbreaker Premium. You can follow me on Twitter at MikesMMAPicks. We're back. I apologize for last week with the power outage. We weren't able to get that stream going, but we are back, and go get what's yours, my friends. Let's do this. It's your time. Let's make it happen. Enjoy the fights, my friends.